across then to Tehran, speak to our correspondent Reza Sayah, who joins us from there. Reza, what's the reaction then in Iran to this kind of possible US optimism that we're starting to hear about?
Stuart, the streets of Tehran are behind me and no one is celebrating just yet. Frankly, the people of Iran have been disappointed so often, have been through so much over the past 3 or 4 decades that frankly, they're very disillusioned and cynical about this nuclear deal, about these negotiations in Vienna, and generally about the notion of politicians sitting around in a European capital and doing something that will benefit them in their economy. Even so, they're watching, they're waiting to see what happens in Vienna. We're, of course, talking about a nuclear deal that was left in disarray back in 2018 when then U.S. President Donald Trump took office, withdrew Washington from the deal and slapped Iran with scores of sanctions. When there was a new U.S. president in office, Joe Biden, the remaining signatories of the deal decided to get to Vienna and meet with Iran beginning last April in an effort to revive the deal, with Washington participating indirectly. Those talks lasted about 3 months. They stopped in June because of the Iranian presidential elections. They resumed back in December. But over the past few months, very little indication of any progress. Where we had seen progress was Iran's nuclear program. Over the past 2 or 3 years, Iran pushing forth with significant advancements, using advanced centrifuges, enriching uranium in record pace, enriching uranium to 60% purity, all advancements that were clearly concerning to Washington and its allies. So why all of a sudden some optimism? Because we've seen some optimistic statements over the past week or so. Yesterday, the State Department saying that the deal is possible in these rounds of talks in Vienna. Iran's foreign ministry this week saying that there's been significant progress. Perhaps the most optimistic statement coming from German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, saying a final draft of the deal is on the table. There's only a few more things that need to be worked out. So certainly some optimistic signs, but again, no one's celebrating here in Tehran just yet.
Reza, if a deal is reached, what do you think it could actually look like?
Stuart, it's hard to say at this point. We can assume if the deal is revived, it will address some of the demands on both sides. Iran, for its part, they want guarantees from Washington that the next U.S. administration, if it is a Republican administration, is not going to pull out of the deal like President Donald Trump did. Iran also wants sanctions lifted. Previously, they said on all sanctions lifted, but there's signs that they will agree to sanctions being lifted in stages. And for its part, Washington wants Iran to reverse its advancements in its nuclear program, and it wants Iran to agree to discuss other regional issues. So again, if the deal is revived, if an agreement is reached, we can assume that some of these things will be addressed in it.
Reza, thanks very much. Reza Sayah, correspondent, talking to us there from Tehran.